I'm walking down the
I do want to say to Donnie and many of you in this room that over a very long career in this city, all of you have helped me and my colleagues tell the truth and to try to tell.
I may not look like you and you me, but
my head up.
I'm South Carolina, so I just
Got it.
What does this event mean to you, Miss Peggy Morris?
Oh, my heart,
Happy 20th anniversary.
my heart is about loving up on my sisters. Do you know what it feels like to have your sisters in the room? John.
be me and dare to be different and unique. I'm gonna be the best me I can be by letting His glory shine through. I am beautiful, I am blessed, but not just what you see in the flesh. I'm free from people, free from myself. There's a
The doctor lived next door to the janitor, to the reverend, and the lawyer. We were together. Now we get so high and mighty that you create stress for your society because you don't like poor black folks either. That's a health problem. Get yourself together so I can stop being taking care of geriatric people and get back to pediatrics. I thank you, Donnie, for all you've done. Let's keep doing it all the more.
letting His glory shine through. Dare to be you, dare to be me, dare to be different and unique. I'm gonna be the best me I can be by letting His glory shine through. And I dare you, I dare you, I dare you to be you.
Welcome to the show. Been an interesting morning. Praise the Lord. We are here. We are here. We are here. Let's get straight on to the get down. We have with us Mario Bonds. Good morning, Mario. How are you?
Good morning, Donnie. I'm doing quite well. How are you this morning?
Mario, you are just, you got a lot of stuff going on with you, man. Let me try to read some of your bio for people who haven't caught up. But we are very fortunate folks to have with us today Mario Bonds. Now, Mario is a native of the DMV. But let me just share some of his bio. Multi-talented singer, songwriter, motivational speaker, made famous by NBC's The Glee Project. Successful in his quest to show the world that a person with a disability can rise to meet any challenge. Bonds has enjoyed entertaining and inspiring millions. Is that you, Mario? This is the same you?
Well, I mean, honestly, I'd like to meet the guy that was written about.
I think the first thing, Mario, we need to celebrate Nora. Who is Nora?
Nora is my sister turned manager. You know, as she annoyingly tells people, tells people, why I changed his Pampers. You know, she's about 8 years older than me, but she's become my manager, and it's she who started an online inspirational magazine called Jim Leon. And she realized that, I went to school, I have a degree in journalism. And so overnight, she turned me into a celebrity journalist. So that's on that list as well, to where I've been in the blessed position to really be able to have some interesting conversations with celebrities from all walks of life. And so when you say who's Nora, you told me that my sister would become my manager and would turn me into a celebrity journalist, I would have told you are absolutely crazy. So Nora is, she, how they say that, you have a mother who could be a mama bear, very protective and have your best interests at heart. Well, she's my sister bear and all that. So that's who Nora is.
That's beautiful, man. That's very beautiful. It's always warming to hear loving things about our siblings, because, sometimes our siblings can pluck our nerves, but thank God for
and she still does that. And I still give her a hard time, but it's, we grew up in, a very destitute and abusive experience, right? So for us to have gone through, hardship, abandonment, homelessness, and bouts of, that we all went through. There's 9 of us in all, really. There's 2 sets of twins, a set of triplets, and 2 single-born kids that yielded, 9 in all. But for all of us to go through that and to be deep in the arts and her to further my agenda, et cetera, it's just a blessing.
Now Mario, we're going to get to, we got to acknowledge one other person also, Micheline Bowman.
Yes.
If we don't mention her, I might not be able to come to Prince George's County later this month for our event.
No, Micheline is absolute gold, right? It's she who extremely believes in me and believes what Nora and I are doing, you know, because even the online magazine, it's, you know, it's self-funded because we're chasing hearts, right? And just try to spread awareness and spread our name, et cetera. But from a human perspective, Micheline really understands that some of the other stuff I do, the advocacy work I do, she deeply understands that. And to that end, I'm utterly grateful for everything that she does to support us, and prior to this and even going forward. Micheline is gold.
All right, and there's one last disclaimer I need to throw in here, okay? So about 2011, this news outlet, so this is Black USA, but the parent company, Be More News, we started giving away Black Wall Street Awards. Micheline has helped us present these awards, particularly in Prince George's and Washington, D.C. area. As a matter of fact, she was able to set it up such that we honored Marion Barry. Wow. But I wanted to share with you, Mario, that the person who inspired me to do these awards was a blind man, is a blind man.
Oh, wow.
He's here in Baltimore. His name is Lehman Best. And I went to, so he would come on my radio show. I did a radio show out of Radio 1 for 21 years. He would come on from time to time and he would bring on talent. And then one day he told me he wanted to give me an award. So I go to this church, and Mario, he had a table with like 300 trophies that were like 3 feet tall.
Oh, wow.
And I've been doing awards ever since. I took it as a challenge. Like if Lehman can honor people, then so can I. I
think, look, that is absolutely beautiful, right? There's no greater purpose than to be in service of other, and more importantly, celebrate people for the Donnie, there is so much turbulence and i.e. foolishness all around us, right? So to pull tokens and pockets of positivity and be able to celebrate that, I am all for it. So I commend you for that. And Lehman.
To God be the glory. So now I want you to share this with me. I've been going over your story, and man, just reading your bio is like reading a mini novel. It's just
I appreciate that.
You've done a lot of stuff. But this is what I did not catch. You were not born blind.
I wasn't. I've been blind for 26 years. So I started off life being able to see. I was born with a degenerative eye disease called morning glory syndrome. It's very rare. It's even rarer to have it in both eyes, right? So even people with morning glory don't end up going totally blind. A lot of them may lose vision in one eye. And I remember even when I was on the Glee project, there were people who had morning glory syndrome reaching out to me, telling me how inspired they were. But, to myself, I said, well, gee, they're inspired by me, but they still have vision. And then I understood it, or it was like, well, dude, morning glory syndrome put both of your lights out and you are still out here daring to smile and daring to take on the world. So I went blind in my left eye when I was 5. And then 4 years later, I went blind in my right eye. And it was tough because it was one of those diseases where blindness was inevitable. And everybody wanted to prepare me for that time when total blindness came. So I'm still a kid being able to see at the time, and I'm watching TV, even though, I didn't care that I was getting closer and closer to the TV. I remember sitting nose to screen just to see The Simpsons, right? I didn't care. But it was a huge sign that you're going blind, and they wanted to prepare me for it. So they're making me learn to read Braille and learn to use a cane, and I wanted no parts of it. In fact, my first cane, when I was presented with it in the 3rd grade, I threw it at my teacher, right? I didn't know any better. Now, the thing is, you should understand that she walks up to me and says, well, Mario, I have a special instrument for you. That's how she talked. And I said, special instrument. I love music. She said, yes, this is a special instrument that you're going to learn how to use. And I'm all for it. And then she presents it to me, and it's one of those things that blind people use.
Wow.
Oh, no, you are not about to kill my swag with this thing. So, so I it's on my school record that I threw it back at her. So, you know, when I did go blind with morning glory syndrome, how could you really be ready? I wasn't ready. 3 years of rebelliousness. I hated school. I hated God. I hated everyone. I was convinced that the adults made me this way. And then eventually when I was 12, something clicked. And there were some teachers who told me that you are not about to use the fact that your family is poor and destitute and the fact that you are blind as a reason to fail. And so Fairfax County, Virginia changed my life. And that's what started me on the trajectory to where I'm sitting here at 35 years old and people have to ask me, well, are you totally blind? That's a great thing.
So the picture I saw with you and Steve, well, my bad. Listen,
no, it's like the picture you saw regarding Stevie Wonder.
But you had glasses on.
It's pretty funny. Okay, so I've been blind since 1996, but this is a joke. What I'm getting ready to say, it's a joke, and I laugh at it. But there are people in my life who tease me and say that I'm conceited about the way that I look. And it's a joke because I can't see myself, right? I just know the lies that people tell.
What they say, you're vain?
Yeah, they joke and say that I'm vain about the way that I look, right? You know, that I'm a blind man and I probably spend more time looking in the mirror than anyone else. Those are the some of the those are some.
You can do what you want to do, okay?
Those are some of the running jokes. So as a part of that, sometimes I would wear personality glasses because I love further confusing people as to whether I'm actually blind or not. So those are personality glasses that I was just wearing to try and have some blind swag.
Right. I am very inspired. I know you are touching people all over the world. How do you stay so optimistic?
Wow. How do I stay optimistic? Well, honestly, I've recently been able to really accept the analogy of a gas pump, right? Where we have a gas pump and it obviously it puts petrol in our cars. And that gas pump itself needs to be refueled sometimes, right?
Yes.
And for a while, that idea of being refueled, I didn't necessarily have until I found a way to really love the skin that I live in. And I'll tell you, growing up, I was bullied. I think I teased earlier about being homeless, being abandoned by my father, my mother dying when I was a baby. And I mean, you just name it, right? So there were a lot of things that statistically, if you looked at my life, statistically, you would say, well, how is it possible that he has a real smile? And it's for the following reason. I decided that living in despair and being sad and being depressed takes a lot of energy.
Yes, it does.
It takes a lot of energy to allow myself to feel that way consistently, especially to allow myself to feel that way over things that, quote unquote, I can't change. And in knowing that time is the greatest commodity that we have, I try to make, literally every day, I try to make the decision of how much time am I going to expend on feeling this way or feeling that way. Now, of course, we all have those corners that we go to where there are times where I'm like, things would be so much easier if I could see, or things would be so much easier if my father didn't abandon me, or things would be so much easier if all these therapeutics weren't around. That's the human part. But the art of what I'm talking about is how long you stay there, right? And if staying there lasts too long to where it makes you, quote unquote, unproductive in both your life and in the lives of others. And then the last part of that answer is what keeps me motivated is the gift of being a gift to other people.
The gift of being a gift to other people.
Yes, that is a gift, right? So I'll explain what I mean by that. So in 2013, after I was on the Glee project, I was signed to the American Program Bureau, which is a reputable speaking bureau that books performances and motivational speeches. And when I got booked for my first speech, it was for Gulfstream Aerospace that makes business jets. And I was asked to come in and speak to a student leadership event for what they call at-risk youth. You know, it was like 800 high schoolers. And it was terrifying. But when I got through that speech, a 16-year-old boy came up to me and told me that he had watched his father murder his mother, but that watching me inspired him to keep on going. And of course, I'm humbly sitting there like, well, gee, I just talked about a few things that I went through, but you know, I'm thinking just that one experience, that's far worse than anything I could have possibly gone through. But in that moment, when that kid broke down in my arms in front of this stadium of people and said that to me, that was the moment that I realized that there is no greater work than being that sort of purpose for somebody else, or being that kind of escapism for somebody else, to dare them to hold on one more day. That's a gift, because everybody doesn't get to do that. So it's the gift of being able to be a gift to other people that keeps me positive.
You know, Mario, I have a younger cousin, a baby cousin. His mom was a intravenous drug user. His dad was an intravenous drug user. And he had every excuse in the world to become either a drug dealer or a drug user.
Yeah.
But he didn't. He made it to college. He played football out of state. And now he came back and he's a football coach. He's a business owner. What I'm trying to say is I love to hear about people who shake up the world. And that's what you do, Mario. You shake up the world. Tell me about Atlanta.
Yeah, I appreciate that, because you try to defy expectations, and to what you just said, like I've lived that. I can't tell you throughout my teenage years or how many, whether it was doctors or whether it was teachers at school who would say, "Oh my goodness, if you and your siblings were on drugs or were alcoholics, statistically it would make sense based on what you guys have been through," right? Or just even the adage of, someone calling you a crack baby. My dad was on everything imaginable when we were conceived and beyond. And so it's the idea of deciding to do something different. And so part of, you asked about Atlanta. So the interesting thing is, like I said, I do a lot of advocacy work for people with disabilities, because I do live with a visual disability as a totally blind man. And as a part of what we do with the Jillian magazine is, a lot of celebrities live in Atlanta. So we end up booking a lot of opportunities to sit down with celebrities in Atlanta. And the R&B star Nivea, you'll know who she is. She sings that song, "Don't mess with my man, I'ma be the one to bring it to you." That song. So Nivea is currently on a show that's on Peacock with Tamar Braxton and Evelyn Lavoto, et cetera. And so we were going to do a cover shoot with her and have her interviewed. So I went to Atlanta on March 16th to do so. And I travel independently as a blind man. And it's March 16th. And this particular time, I decided that I was going to stay at the Hampton Inn Suites by Hilton on Peach Street in Midtown. And I get there. What's unique about this hotel is the lobby is on the 20th floor. And so when I got there and I was told, "Oh, the lobby's on the 20th floor," you think it's a blind person. Gee, that's kind of weird. So, and valet parking is mandatory because of it. Obviously I pulled up, in a Lyft or Uber, et cetera. And the valet individual helps me upstairs. I reserve a room and I get checked in. And at that point, a hotel person helps me go up to my room. Now, we all do this when we get on the elevator, right? We might, if with a group of people, we might say, "Hey, could you push 4 for me? Could you push 5 for me? Could you push 6 for me?" Now, as a blind person, I'm used to doing that as well. And I have no reason to think that things are going to shift. So as I'm getting off the elevator, I was able to feel that there is a a touchscreen panel that made noise when my finger slid across it. And briefly, I spoke to the young lady that was helping me out. I said, "Is there a touchscreen on the elevator?" She said, "Yeah, there is." And I said, "That's kind of interesting." But again, I have no reason to think that beyond the touchscreen, that there's no solution on the elevator that's going to make it impossible for me to use it. So I get settled in my room and I call downstairs to ask them about the elevator because I'm curious. And the first thing the gentleman says to me that answers the phone is, "Oh yeah, it's got touchscreen, but it's got the wheelchair emblem on there for people with disabilities. So it's got the thing for people with disabilities." And of course, you say to yourself, "The thing? What the you know?" So then I re-explained to him, despite the fact that this same gentleman was the one who checked me in, "I'm totally blind." "What do you mean it has the emblem for those who are in wheelchairs? I don't have an ambulatory disability." So he says, "No, it's accessible. I'll show you." So he comes upstairs after asking me to meet me in the elevator bay. And then he says, "Oh no, man, actually, you're right. It's not accessible. It's just touchscreen." And so I'm amazed by that. But I know that my sister, again, who's the editor-in-chief of Genleon, I know she's coming in the next day. And it's late. It's late on Thursday, March 16th, and I'm just going to go in my room. So later that day, I decided, as any consumer would, I want to order some food. And like any other blind person who's independent, you say to yourself, "Well, gee, how bad could this really be?" So I order food on Uber Eats, and the first thing I do is I call downstairs. It's now about 11:30, 12 o'clock at night. I call upstairs, to the lobby, because again, the lobby's upstairs. And I said, "Hey, I've ordered some Uber Eats food. Are you able to assist me in getting it when it gets here?" And the guy says, "Well, I'm the only person here, so I don't know what that looks like. I'm not going to be able to help you." So as a blind consumer, do I not get the food, or do I say, how bad could this really be? So the Uber Eats indicates that the food is there. The driver says I can't come to the floor, obviously, but I'll try to leave it in the lobby. I'm on the 17th floor. So I get on the elevator, and I was able to feel that the elevator does have buttons, right? It's got the touchscreen panel, yes, but it also has raised buttons. But then to my horror, I find out that the buttons don't have Braille on them. So it's a keypad. And one of the things you have to, as I said on TikTok, you have to figure out whether that keypad is a phone keypad or a calculator keypad, where the 2 is it below or above the 5, etc. I couldn't figure out how to use the elevator at all. And I'm a person I'm a techie, right? I'm certified in HTML. I've been in the accessibility space for a while. I'm a techie. So I'm trying my best to figure out how to use this elevator and the door is closed at this point. So at some point, I accidentally got the elevator to take me to the first floor. Again, no Braille, no voice output, etc. But I'm still in a tough situation because, again, the lobby's on the first floor, and that's where the food was going to be taken. There's not a soul around. And this was at the point where, the anxiety sets in, etc., because there's not a soul around. And I'm down on the first floor. The door opened. Where do I go? What do I do? So this spiral went on for roughly about 10 minutes or more, to where eventually you say to yourself, "To hell with the food. I don't want the food. I don't want the food. I just want to go back to my room," right? Because at this point,
I get it.
Yeah, I don't feel blind when I walk with my cane, because that's my reality. I don't feel blind when I might drop something on the floor and have to feel around for it. But now that I'm in a situation where I cannot overcome something like an elevator because I'm blind, because it's inaccessible and not built in accordance with law now, a law that was passed in 1990. So I just want, at this point, I literally just want to go back to my room. But again, I can't figure it out. Now, one of the things I don't want to take for granted, Donnie, is that at this point, I realize I'm having an inaccessible experience with this elevator, but I don't realize how deep it is until much later, when individuals explain to me why I couldn't use it. So the elevator, there's a card reader that you have to find and have your card reader swipe first, your card swiped first. Then you have to type in the floor you want. Then you have to find an enter key that has to be pressed in order for the elevator to accept your selection. So no Braille on the numbers, no Braille to indicate where the reader is, no Braille to indicate where the enter key is. and let alone me even knowing that the existence of the enter key is even there, right?
I just want to put it out there. We're talking about the Hilton in Atlanta, the Hilton Hotel, Atlanta, Midtown.
Yes, the Hampton Inn Suites by Hilton on Peach Street in Midtown Atlanta.
Now, this is a public. This is right in the middle of a busy metropolitan area. It's a busy city,
yes.
And one would think that an institution as old as the Hilton Hotel would do better.
Absolutely. So at some point, I'm like, I just want to go back to my room. Obviously, I can't do that. So eventually, I got off the elevator and took my blind butt all the way outside to find a valet. And the valet took me back to the elevator and pushed the 17th floor for me. And then when I get off the floor to go back to my room, what is my luck? My room key doesn't work anymore. And like I said, the normal thing would be to jump on the Yeah. The normal thing would be to jump on the elevator and just go to the lobby and get a new one, right? But I'm like, I don't want to go through that horror story again, that now I have to think twice about leaving my room to begin with. And the safety hazard, the anxiety it induced, etc. And so my iPhone talks, obviously. So I found the number to the front desk again, because before when I talked to the front desk, I was using the hotel phone, right? 0 is easy to push. And I found the front desk, so I could, get around the reservationist to 1-800 number. And I was very upset at that point and explained to him what I went through. He came upstairs to let me in my room, because at this point I'm like, I'll get a new card tomorrow morning. And he comes up and chastises me for trying to get the food myself and saying that I would have helped you.
Oh, you asked him, and
I asked him.
He said he was the only one there.
He said he was the only one there, and he wouldn't have been able to help me. So I go in the next morning. I call downstairs to get assistance. I call upstairs to get assistance to come into the lobby, because I want to speak to the general manager and I wanted to get breakfast. And again, a person on the phone says, "Oh, well, no, there's nothing wrong with the elevator. It's perfectly fine." They send somebody up from sales to get me, and she says, "No, this elevator is terrible." Right. And then I get down to the desk, and the woman who had answered the phone, who told me it was fine, said, "Oh, yeah, I checked it out and it is horrible. We'll make sure you can speak to the general manager." So long story made short, after a day of meetings, I came back to the hotel the night of the 17th. And that's when my situation was further compounded by, not only was this facility inaccessible, my sister was there at this point, but the staff was completely insensitive, to the degree where they told us that they didn't build the elevator and that they feel attacked.
Okay, so do you have a lawyer?
Yes, now I do. Yes.
Very good.
So they told me that
I won't touch the legal matters, because I want you to be compensated, but I'm glad that you have a lawyer.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, the operations manager, when she called her boss, the general manager, the first thing the general manager said to me was, "Well, Mr. Bonds, my team feels threatened and attacked. What is it that you want?"
Okay. Your lawyer can do the rest of the talking.
Yeah.
So what? And I would like to talk with you offline, because
yes, please.
You're about to be filthy rich. I mean, you're already rich in spirit, but I pray you can get some commas in your bank account. But also, I see an opportunity.
Yeah.
I see an opportunity for you to put your techie skills to work and create some instruments that can help other people who deal with what you deal with on a daily basis.
Because I believe in everything being a teachable moment. And in that moment, when I was talking to the hotel, all I'm interested in is, hey, let's talk to your corporate office to let them know they have a hazard here. And like any human being, you're after some sense of empathy, right? Not to feel like you're the problem for daring to come out and be an independent consumer. And that's how they left me feeling. And then I'll tell you this, Donnie, I now live with residual anxiety related to elevators that I didn't have before. And what I mean by that is, again, I talked about being able to walk into a building or get on an elevator with a group of people and just yell at someone, "Hey, could you push 5? Could you push 6?" I now am preoccupied with what the elevator panel feels like in every elevator now. In case I get on that elevator by myself, I now have residual anxiety related to wanting to know the elevator inside and out that I did not have before.
So you're like hypersensitive to it.
Yes. It's like, even if the elevator's full, I'll push it myself, right? I don't have the liberty of just saying, could you push 7 for me? If it's a place I haven't been before, I want to investigate that panel and push the button myself. And that's something I didn't have before.
I see great things happening for you because you are, when's your birthday? Tell us about yourself.
My birthday is 9/25. I was born on September 25th, 87. So I share my birthday with Lil Wayne, Will Smith, and a few other people. So that makes me a fellow Libra. I don't know, somebody listening, that could be a good or a bad thing.
Well, the new governor of the state of Maryland, first black man, is a Libra.
Yeah. So I joked and say good or bad thing, depending on what side of the scale you fall.
Well, you have evolved people in all signs, and you have unevolved people.
Absolutely. So with
that, it matters how we have evolved as human beings.
Yes. Which is what I completely believe. And separate from that, a lot of my time is filled with taking care of my 4 sons. I still want to have biological kids, but I've incidentally adopted 4 boys. So I have a 10-year-old, a 12-year-old. I adopted 2 older boys who now are 19 and 20. But the way I always say it is, my 10-year-old and my 12-year-old, they think I'm an action figure that knows everything. And my 19-year-old and my 20-year-old think I'm an unmitigated idiot, and that I don't know anything. So if stuck between those 2 worlds means I'm doing a really good job as a dad.
So you were born, and congratulations. You're just an inspiration. An early happy Father's Day to you.
Thank you.
Where do you find time to be a dad?
Whew, I can tell you that honestly, because my older boys, they have my older boys, they both have bipolar disorder, incidentally. And so interestingly, that a lot of my time and a lot of my life is, preoccupied with, managing mental health and managing emotional responses and that kind of thing. But more recently, because they are getting older, try to, get them to keep in with their coping skills. And as is typical for people their age, I don't need the medicine, I'm fine, and I'm this and that. Honestly, it's a full-time job. And so my medicine, honestly, to keep me sane, is I work out 7 days a week in the morning.
So we saw your pictures. We saw you looking like big buff guy.
Yeah. I work out every day, usually at 5 o'clock to 7:30. That's my therapy, and I think that's what sets me up to be ready for any sort of therapeutic thing my kids might go through, etc. But
so have you been offered a television show yet?
Well, here's the funny part. Yes, we have, and then things fell apart because the 2 producers that were trying to put it together ended up in a business feud. But we were approached for a television show. We even did an entire sizzle that we're sitting on that we still have, to where, we sat down with Dr. Phil's production company. We sat down with Harpo. We sat down with all these major guys that were all interested. But again, the 2 guys that were putting it together ended up in a business feud, and we became collateral damage. And it was going to be called Family Bond, so that all my crazy blondisms could be on television. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, we were, and right now it's like, it's kind of a stalemate. We're looking for new interest.
So you're based in the DMV still,
yes.
Or Atlanta? DMV?
I'm still based in the DMV. Yeah.
Well, you didn't mention Tyler Perry.
Whoa.
Okay. And then there's always Hollywood. Have you ever been to Hollywood?
Yeah, with the Glee Project and etc. But again, these producers that came to us, they had the connections to where they literally got us meetings to sit down with all these major production houses. And, then things fizzled off because of the business feud that he ended in with his partner.
Okay, well, start over and do it yourself.
That's where my sister and I are.
Yeah, you don't need, man, you've already been pointed to the door, to the light. Yeah. I believe you can do it. You and your sister can do it.
I believe that too, and that's what we believe.
Don't get me
what we're
wrong.
doing.
Have your lawyers, have your agents, but you seem
Absolutely.
pretty capable of negotiating a contract.
Exactly. So we feel like the sky's the limit. So we're going to try to see what we can do to, to raise some funds and take it a step further for ourselves.
Okay. So I understand that I can't ask you, you're not feeling any kind of way inspired to, hum or whistle. I see is that a keyboard beside you? I have a keyboard.
It is a keyboard.
What do you like to play?
I play the piano and the guitar, and I love to I love to sing.
So did you teach yourself to play?
First, yes. Yeah, it was a gift. And then it was a gift that was honed by me getting accepted to a performing arts high school when I was in the 10th grade.
In what city?
It's weird because it's called Suitland High School, but it's in Forestville. The address reads Forestville.
So down in Prince George's County.
Yeah. So Suitland School for the Visual and Performing Arts. I went there as a piano major and ended up doing piano and vocal. So I am classically trained, but I sing everything. I can sing and write everything.
Who's your favorite classical composer?
I would say I like Mozart.
Mozart.
Yeah, because I think in comparison, his music is extremely bright and is usually thick with melody. So with that, it's like if I'm in a bad mood, that kind of thing, I can, kind of live in the gentility that's in Mozart music, etc.
Was his name Amadeus Wolfgang Mozart?
I believe so. You're taking me back to music theory and history. It's been years since I thought about that, Donnie. Don't do me like that.
What about Ludwig van Beethoven?
Like him too, but he's drama. Beethoven is big drama, right?
He's a black man. Did you know that?
Yeah. I love him, but for the drama. But if I just need simple, melodious, and to make me think that the sun is shining, even though it might be dark outside, I definitely go to Mozart. And then from a vocal perspective, my favorite vocalist was, I loved Pavarotti, but I also love Andrea Bocelli.
Did you ever hear Pavarotti and James Brown? They sing "This Is a Man's World."
Oh, first of all, when we're done here, I'm gonna look that up on YouTube.
Oh, you will love it. It's the best of two different cultures, James Brown and Pavarotti.
Yeah, I have to check that out.
Oh, man.
I like that stuff because every now and then it's like, because I don't know, musically you have different, obviously you have different vocal parts. There's tenor, there's first tenor, there's second tenor. I'm a second tenor, but I have range. So I'm a second tenor, but I can hit some alto notes, and I can also hit some whistle registry notes depending on the song and the adrenaline, etc. So I respect big tenor belters like Pavarotti and etc.
What about Luther? You like any Luther?
Now Luther was unparalleled. I don't think there has been before and will be after in terms of a male vocalist that was just a master technician of vocal, of singing, right? He was a master technician with his range and the velvety quality of it. And he could belt if he wanted to, but he could just be, simple. And then he could even, give you a scary ghost sound, and women processed it as sexual.
Yeah, that's exactly the riff. That's exactly the riff.
He somehow made a Scooby-Doo sound and ghost noise sound sexy. So
yes, he did. Yes, he did. Tell me about Anita Baker. How would you describe her?
No, first of all, I love Anita Baker, right? I love my favorite female artist of all time is Toni Braxton, and then Mariah Carey's after that. But Toni Braxton, but I mentioned Toni Braxton after Anita Baker because of the similarities. But Anita Baker, I mean, my favorite song by her is "I Apologize. Oh, believe me, I do. I apologize. That's my favorite song by her.
Why?
So her song, her voice is just, oh God, her voice is gold. I love how rich it is, and I love where it sits, where her voice sits in a first tenor, sort of situation, right? And then of course Tony takes it a bit deeper than that. But yeah, Nora's obsessed. My sister's obsessed with Anita Baker.
So Mariah Carey, what is it? Her octaves? She has what? How many? Eight octaves?
It would have been the octaves, yes. And I've loved her for how she used to express songs, and then I love and also the messaging behind her songs, especially the self-empowerment. My favorite song by her is "Can't Take That Away." You ever heard that song before?
I would imagine so, but you can hum it if you like.
So she goes, they can say anything they want to say, try to bring me down, but I won't face the ground. I will rise steadily, sailing out of their reach, 'cause there's a light in me. And she goes on and on, that shines brightly. I like that by her. And I also love, of course I love Hero, and I love that there can be miracles when you believe, though hope is frail. It's that song that she did with Whitney Houston. I love that. And then, like I said, my favorite female artist of all time will always be Toni Braxton. I mean,
what's your favorite Whitney song?
Oh God, my favorite Whitney song. Oh, my favorite Whitney song would literally have to be. This might make you laugh, but I like the club remix of "It's Not Right, But It's Okay."
Okay.
Yeah, the club remix of that. But if I'm talking from a musical perspective, I love "If I Have Nothing." I love that because of the belting. I mean, that's when she was in her prime, and those belts are everything.
So look, we have a comment from Chelsea Scott. She said, "Good morning, beautiful peeps. I love him, Donnie, and I'm looking forward to his TV show and/or movie." This is Chelsea, Chelseea, Chelsea Scott. Thank you, Chelsea.
Hi, Chelsea. Hi, Chelsea. Thank you for that. Are you a fan of Toni Braxton, Donnie?
Well, I'm from Baltimore. She right down the road, of course.
I had to make sure because you asked me about me.
She says a sister, right? A singer.
Say that again.
Her sister sings also.
Yeah, Toni Braxton.
Yeah, like Tamar Braxton.
Yeah, Tamar Braxton. Yeah, they all sing. Yeah, but Toni right up there with Anita Baker. I love her.
Yes, very, very beautiful people, and I've known people who have hung out with them. I wanted to know, so as this music unfolds, damn, there's so many questions. I want to go back to classical.
Yeah.
You mentioned Mozart, you mentioned Beethoven. Anybody else? Any other composers? There's a film coming out about this guy from France during the whole French Revolution named Chevalier, Chevalier. And he was not only a master composer, I think Mozart learned from him, and he was also a master fencer with the swords.
Oh, wow. Wow. Yeah, I'll have to definitely check that out. I guess if I talk modern day, I really do love, I love David Foster. He's a composer that has written for everybody from Celine Dion to Andrea Bocelli to what have you. And one of my favorite songs to perform that is obviously everybody knows the song, The Prayer, with Celine and Andrea Bocelli. And I think from the gospel side, Yolanda Adams and Donnie McClurkin did a version of it. But yeah, definitely love David Foster.
This is the question. I found it. Marvin Gaye, he did a song. He did his own rendition of the national anthem. Have you ever heard that?
Yeah, I have. He made the national anthem sexy, and it was the song that never ended.
Yeah. Have you transformed any song and made it your own, into your own?
I feel like I try to do that anytime I cover someone's song, but yeah, I think I think my version of a classic "Mary Did You Know" I've kind of made my own. I just recently had to do that for Easter, but I try to re-express music as if I wrote it myself, right? Because I think that that's the only way you you can really have an authentic experience. And then, as corny as it sounds, I believe music has healing powers. So if
Yes,
it,
of
yeah,
course, of
yeah,
course.
it has the ability to transport us places. You know, it has the ability to bring us out of hardship and get us through hardship. And my goodness, all of the turbulent stuff I've been through in my life, it all has a soundtrack to it. There are certain
Mario,
songs, yeah, there's certain songs I turn on and I'm like, ah, turn
all right,
that off.
Mario, DMX had a song called "Slipping."
Yeah.
Slipping and falling and I can't get up. That was my healing song. And Lauryn Hill's X Factor. That was my healing song too, for some of the stuff that I found myself into.
Yeah, and I love that about music. That it could have you reminisce about good and bad things. And I'll tell you, like, it's like when I say that music can be the soundtrack of what we went through. I remember as a kid, you know, places that we've lived. It's like now to this day, if Mary J. Blige's "I Can Love You, I Can Love You Better Than She Can," if that song comes on, you know, I'm 8 years old again, wondering, you know, why my dad thinks it's funny to smother us with pillows, right? Or if, you know, "When You Believe" comes on by Mariah Carey, I'm now excited because I now can read Braille. You know, I'm like 10 years old again, excited about the fact that I can read Braille. So music really can transport us to places that we've been before.
Mario, Chelsea is just going on. Chelsea said music calms the savage beast. Yes, music does heal.
Music calms the savage beast. I like that. So with that being said, my first album was all about anti-bullying, and one of the songs that I wrote is called "Human." And I think Nora might have sent you the link to the video for that. That's an anti-bullying anthem that I always go back to when I need to tell myself, look, man, you got to live by what you're telling people, you know? So I try to go back to, it's always like, don't write it if you don't live it. Don't write it if you don't believe it. And it's always a reset for me. So okay, I'm thankful to have that gift of music.
Tell me about a bullying situation, because I thought I had to deal with some bullies. It took me a few years, but I eventually confronted the bullies. But tell me about a bully situation you had to deal with.
I'll tell you, because I'm tickled to death by it now. But at 35 years old, I am still a chocolate brown man, right? And I haven't always been felt good, even though I couldn't see myself later in life. I didn't necessarily feel good about being chocolate brown because I was teased for it. And so now it's crazy, because it seems that everywhere I go, now it's coveted. Now I'm considered, pedestaled or super gold because, I'll just say, a lot of times people don't even call me Mario. My name, Mario Bonds, my name is teasingly Sexy Chocolate now, right? But as a kid, I was called Black Critter. I was called, Black as Night. It was like, I felt like I was God's worst mistake.
I'm glad you know that you have been blessed beyond.
Yeah, now I do, because it's like, when I think about it, like the number one group I get hit on by is white women. Because it's
hitting on you, Mario. Mario, have you been abroad? Where have you been to China, for instance, or Africa?
I have not been to China or Africa yet.
What you waiting on?
Well, I mean, we get there. Let's get the TV part together, and then we.
Well, what I'm saying is, if America don't want to act right, America's not the only place that makes music, that makes movies. There's a whole world. You got to go to China, man. You got to go to Africa. You got to go and experience. I mean, like the South African choral sounds. I got to ask you about this one musician that I've been particularly fascinated with as of late.
Mm-hmm.
Totally different genre than what we've discussed thus far. Kendrick Lamar.
Oh. What I love about Kendrick Lamar is I remember that 2011 and 2012 and 2013 and going into 2014, I said to somebody, he is underrated and he deserves a lot more respect and a lot more attention. And where are his awards?
You are underrated. You are underrated. You deserve awards. You, Mario.
Yeah. Thank you. So I love Kendrick Lamar. I'm glad that that I've watched his career, and at 2023, I can say that all those things that I said he deserved in 2011, 2012, 2013, he's gotten them.
Well, it's going to come right back to you. Do you believe that we attract what we desire?
I do. In fact, that's one of the themes that I talk to my 19-year-old who's I can talk about him earlier. He's got bipolar disorder, but he's extremely talented, as a lyricist and as a rapper. So I that's one of the things we do is we write music together. And it's one of the things I always tell him, when he asks me for advice about how to deal with women or how to deal with social situations, I tell him that energy is everything. I tell him you could, he incidentally kind of looks like me as well, even though I didn't have him. And I always tell him energy is everything. And I said, you can be the cutest guy in the world. And I said, and because he talks to me about, Dad, you've got swag and people just stare at you and people do this and I want to be that way. And I said, I'm totally blind. I said, you could be the cutest guy in the world or ultra attractive, like you say people think. But if I had a bad attitude or if I emitted bad energy, right? No one would care.
Wow. I wish you could just repeat that over, and I wish you could do a commercial. No matter what you look like on the outside, if that energy is negative, nobody wants to be around it, huh?
Yeah, no one would care. No one wants to converse. You're just something good to look at, and that's in doing fitness modeling and stuff like that. Part of the reason why I do those things, because obviously I can't see myself, but I do those things because I do love being the inspiration behind it. When I'm totally blind, I can't see myself. I love when guys come up in public or message me and say, man, you've inspired me. You making me wonder what I'm doing with my life. And now I'm working out again. You know what I mean?
Man, you got this profile picture on Be More News, man. I'm like, who the hell is this supermodel?
Right. So what I'm saying is, I love the irony of the fact that I'm totally blind. I can't see myself, but what I'm doing is visually interesting enough to where it's inspiring other guys to get their health together. Right. And so, But separate from that, if I had a bad attitude,
nobody would want to.
Right. I'm just a blind guy with a cute face or a blind guy with a muscular body.
Yeah.
Right. And that fades. That's pointless, right? It fades. So I do it for the inspiration, not the superficial. Mm-hmm. And that's what I try to teach to him.
Mm-hmm. Tell me about emotional intelligence.
Oh, another theme that I talk to my kids about a lot. This is great. And trying to help them develop emotional intelligence, albeit, Donnie, some pieces of it can be taught, other pieces of it either have to be learned or it's not going to be there, right? You can teach principles of emotional intelligence, but people either have it or not. It's like kindness or meanness, right? Those things to a certain degree can be taught, but you can eradicate them depending on who you quote unquote are as a person. So having emotional intelligence, I think, is key because it's that emotional intelligence that will help you be aware of the energy that you quote unquote emit, right? I'm not going to say these things because I'm emotionally intelligent enough to know that this will hurt somebody. Or I'm emotionally intelligent enough to know that what I said had an adverse effect on somebody, and it's my job to go and correct it, right? Those sorts of things.
That sounds like grown people stuff.
Yeah, totally.
So you have a movie coming out, you have a documentary coming out. What about the book? You didn't mention the book.
Yeah, well, we're currently working on the movie and currently working on a docuseries we teased about trying to do it on our own. I did write a book called Without Sight, but Full of Vision, right? Because I'm without sight in the sense that I'm blind, but I do not lack vision at all. And it's just it's a childhood memoir that I often say it's not a laundry list of, look, all of the horrible things that happened to me, but rather it's a depiction of some adverse things that happened to me that should have, but didn't break me.
And so are you also going to be doing sessions? Do you offer coaching sessions? It seems to me that you could charge anywhere from $1,000 or $300 an hour for people to get 30 minutes of your time. Have you started teaching sessions or coaching sessions?
It's funny that you asked that because we're in the process of revamping my website so we can do some of that stuff. And I would welcome being able to have another conversation with you in the future that we're ready.
Bro, you can come here
anytime you
want. Anytime you want, you're welcome on this show. We'll give you a show on this network if you want.
Look, look, I'm looking for that. We're looking for that.
Whatever you like. We'd love to have you. But more than that, we thank the good Lord for Micheline and for your sister Nora for making this connection. I can tell you, you have touched people on this show. Now, it's not like we're the Breakfast Club. We're better than the Breakfast Club because we keep it 100 and we give you a chance to talk about what it is you feel. You've talked about being a parent. You've talked about your challenges. You've talked about family. You've talked about business. We've covered Mozart. Didn't talk about Brahms in terms of classical music, but you're so well-rounded. And Chelsea Scott just wants to thank you, among other people. She said emotional intelligence is for grown folks, for sure. Any final thoughts as we wind down? I'll just fall back and give you the floor for 2-3 minutes. Say what you want.
Yeah, I want to thank you for the opportunity to be here and to be able to be in front of your audience. You know, I think above all, I try to be the embodiment of kindness, and I always live with the mantra that I am human too. And that's what I want for all of us, is that we all are human too, and we all didn't ask to, but we are here living the human experience. And the words that I wrote for the song Human speak to that, where it says, I am human too, and I bleed just like you. I have feelings and dreams and a heart that does beat. And sometimes I get scared and my eyes do cry tears, but you could dry my eyes if you act like I'm human and see me as human too. Thank you for your time.
Mario, God bless you. I'm a phone call away, whatever you guys need. We have, matter of fact, we're in Atlanta coming up. We're in New York coming up, but we come to DC with our awards. We can't wait to bestow a Joe Mann's Black Wall Street Award upon you. But more than
God bless
anything,
you.
I didn't get your favorite gospel song.
Oh my God, that is a great song. My favorite gospel song? Oh God, it's actually a hymn.
Okay.
And it simply goes like this. I must tell Jesus all of my trials. I cannot bear these burdens alone. In my distress, he kindly will help me. He ever cares and love for his own. Yeah, so I Must Tell Jesus is a hymn that is my favorite. That oftentimes that hymn makes me cry when I hear it, and it's done the right way. So that's my favorite gospel song.
Before you go out, Mario, we're just going to bless the good Lord. We thank you, Lord, for another day. We thank you for Mario. We thank you for Nora and Micheline for making this show happen. May someone out there be touched. May a soul's cold heart be pierced with the love of God as we go into the spring. Bless Mario to be even more productive And thank you for this show. In your mighty, matchless, and majestic name, we say hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
And
God
amen.
bless you. Amen.
God bless you, Mario. You the man.
Yeah. God bless you, Donnie. I look forward to this new connection, sir.
Absolutely. God bless. Donnie Glover out. Have a great day, everybody.